So the customer. So all of this began with two spinal cord injury physicians from Japan. One is a Dr. Takioka and one is a Dr. Kubota. Dr. Takioka is actually a C4 spinal cord injury himself, and he heard about our EXO program here. And so he flew himself from Japan here to try to get into the EXO and to experience it. He was able to stand up and walk for the first time, and I believe in 16 or 17 years, and he was absolutely thrilled. And both doctors from Japan were very impressed with our handling techniques, our treatment techniques, and our outcomes as far as what spinal cord injury patients can do. And Dr. Takioka, when he was here in Hawaii, went skydiving, he went scuba diving, he got up in the EXO, and so he did a lot of the things that we encourage people here in Hawaii with spinal cord injuries to do, and they don't get that encouragement back in Japan. And so they would like, the two physicians would like to send their PT, OT, and nurses here to rehab hospital to train and to learn our more aggressive techniques as far as getting the patients up and better handling techniques. So that would be phase one of my proposal. Phase two, Dr. Takioka and Dr. Kubota also got in touch with department head at University at Nagasaki University. And so the department head of the therapy school there would like to send PT, OT, and nursing students from his university here as a clinical rotation to also train with our therapists, and so exposing them to our treatment techniques and our aggressive style sooner in their learning, and so that they can just get that base and be more creative with what they want to do instead of treating a patient like they're disabled. So in phase three, we would like to open this up to more affluent Japanese SCI survivors. Basically, they would have to have the monetary means to get here to Hawaii and to also pay for our services out of pocket, because I would prefer, the whole goal of this program is to build a sustainable cash generating program to help with our hospital needs. So addressing the competitive environment. So Rehab Hospital of the Pacific is the only hospital or organization here in Hawaii that's dedicated to both outpatient and acute inpatient rehabilitation. No one else in Hawaii does that. So because we're a niche hospital, we want to be able to provide the best rehabilitative services that we can. And so we're also the only facility that has an exobionic suit and uses the AlterG bionic leg. No other facilities, again, in Hawaii offer that. And like I mentioned earlier, Euro-Asia will not have the EXO in any foreseeable future. So it gives me a lot of leverage to court patients, department heads, and therapists and physicians to Hawaii, to our facility, to experience it for themselves. And no other hospital in Hawaii offers a formal medical tourism or cross-training program with any international contacts. So it's really trying to be first to market, right? And so being first to market, we set the bar and we can establish ourselves as the premier medical tourism / cross-training facility for Japan, China, Australia, New Zealand. So again, the whole reason behind this program is to build a cash generating program to help with the hospital's finances. In recent years, we've had a lot of Medicare, Medicaid cuts, and so cash programs are going to be more important. So this would be a cash contract with the different hospitals or universities or patients as we get further into the phases. I would like to limit our responsibility to only on-campus activities, and so anything outside of what happens here at the hospital, outside of the training, would be on the visitor's time, because we're not in the logistics business. So I don't want to be able to. I wouldn't want to be required to provide transportation, to provide meals off campus, to provide activities. And so the logistics of the activities would be addressed by a tourism and hospitality company. And you can imagine that in Hawaii we have several very good ones that deal with a lot of Japanese and Chinese tourists. So the contract would be handled through the hospitality company, and we would just be paid receive a payment for our services that we provided. Say we provided 20 hours of educational and training services during the week, and so my fee that I'm going to base that on is about 3 times the cost of salary and benefits. So it will be a profitable venture. So again, the global market. Medicine generally is not a global market because you have a hospital that's set in one place and we're a service industry. But I want to expand our level of training and our expertise to those in Japan and China especially, because they lack that educational base, and they lack the creativity to work with spinal cord injury and patients. And again, all of these countries that I'm mentioning here will not have access to that exobionic suit. And so I have been contacted by a researcher in New Zealand who did stop by here. He wanted to see the exo. Again, we've hosted the 2 physicians from Japan, and so in November I will be going to Japan because they have a spinal cord injury conference in Fukuoka that I'll be attending, and I'm going to be meeting with those department heads from Nagasaki University, Kyushu University, and Dr. Takioka and Dr. Kubota. And so I'm really going to try to push our program out there and see how much interest there is in it. And from what I've heard, from what I understand, it's going to be very well received. So the future, I believe that the future of medicine, and especially rehabilitation, is going to be driven by technology. If you think back to when the first cell phones came out, there were these big, clunky, unpowerful, very expensive pieces of equipment, and you can make a phone call, but that's about it, and the reception wasn't very good. And if you fast forward 25 years to today, what we have now, when you compare the 2 devices, you compare an iPhone or a Samsung to that old yellow brick cell phone, the technology is just so much more advanced, so much more powerful. And so I believe that, like with the exobionic suit, the technology will become cheaper, it will become faster, more powerful, and the person will be able to put a suit on at home and get up and do their daily chores and go out shopping. Right now that's not the case. What we can identify the exobionic suit to is that first generation of cell phones. But I think 20, 30 years down the line, technology will be shaping what spinal cord survivors can do. Innovation will also be a part of that, because the technology, you can purchase all the technologies that you want, but if you don't have innovative treatment techniques or that educational base or the creativity to use that equipment to its fullest potential, it's not going to happen. You can throw money at a problem, but unless you have the right people to do something with that money, it doesn't change anything. And I believe, again, that the future of healthcare to sustain a hospital organization is going to be through wellness programs, keeping people out of the hospital in the first place, and also with that charging cash for those services. Our reimbursement rates over the last 2 years have been cut by about 20% from insurance-based payers. And so my goal is to, as the director of the Innovation Center, is to develop programs to make up for that 20%. Right now my clinic is running at about 8% cash-driven wellness programs, and in the next 2 to 3 years I would like to bring that up to 20% of our revenue. So again, thank you for listening, thank you for your time, and I'm very hopeful for the future of medicine and rehabilitation, and I really want to be a part of that forefront and bringing the new technology, new innovation to rehabilitation in the future. Thank you.